G-O-O-T-M-O-R-N-I-N-G. Good morning. Good morning. G-O-O-T-M-O-R-N-I-N-G. Good morning. Good morning. Morning, good morning, good morning, 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 good. Buenos dias. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a load off your feet. That'll wake you up. Thank you so much for being here and investing in yourself along with the students and schools you represent, for we are only as strong as our team. Today, as we climb and conquer, we are excited to share with you a day of professional growth, connecting with others and networking, reflecting and recalibrating our approach to the amazing opportunities that await our return to our communities, classrooms, and various leadership callings that are represented in this room. Here are some logistics to be aware of as we move forward. Restrooms, really important, in the back hallway by the registration table. If you have any questions throughout the session, look for somebody wearing a black Seafoot vest, and they can answer questions or point you in the right direction. Join us also on social media, and feel free to post pictures throughout today's content, posting takeaways using the hashtag UTLC 2022 or hashtag climb and conquer, the and symbol, and conquer. At your table, notice the notebook. This outlines the events of the day. On the opening pages, you'll find the agenda, and we'll be following that as closely as possible. Also, in the back, there's a place where we can capture key takeaways, and that is found on page 49. Today, you're going to receive many ideas and great content. Many of the details of the day, though, you might forget as you move forward. So we want to provide for you a place to reference later on when you choose to decide, or when you decide to choose a new goal for your own development. And one of the intentions of today is going to be really allowing you to take ideas and getting those into focused action to take back with you on Monday. Because I know what it's like firsthand to come to a conference feeling defeated and getting more ideas and only reflecting on more things that I'm not doing. That's not today. We're going to give you a bunch of ideas, and we're going to have you choose 1, 2, or 3 things that are going to really benefit your work moving forward. You will notice ads throughout the book. We are super thankful for our sponsors that have offered their time, talent, and treasure to make this conference possible. Take a look around the room. All of these sponsors have made today's event possible, along with, yeah, you can give them a round of applause. We'd also like to acknowledge all of our sponsors, some of which aren't present. They are Greater Grace Temple Church, Open Sky Education, Aug Prep, Graphic Terrace, Wisconsin Lutheran College, Outsight Network, Carroll College, Majesty Mortgage, Chaplains in Schools, Rescue Dog, Strive 365, Green Lake Conference Center, we've been there before, Alverno College, School Choice Wisconsin, 9 Round, Carthage College, Seton Catholic Schools, Medulla Cairo One Wellness Centers, and finally, a special thanks to Chris Adams at CCA Technology for recording and editing the video for this conference. Please take time to participate with our vendors throughout the day and over breaks. Also, one of our keynote speakers, Dr. Marvin Berkowitz, who flew in extremely late last night and maybe went to bed this morning at 2 o'clock, is really excited to be with you all and made a lot of sacrifices to be here. So we're excited to have him with us, and he's really excited to meet you. And what he'll be doing during the midday rotations is he'll be posted up at the black table. He'll be signing his book and selling his book, Primed for Character Education. And to get our day kicked off, there are 2 special prizes in the room that we're going to give away right now. There are 2 tickets. You know you're a winner if you reach under your seat and find the winning ticket. It's a big yellow piece of paper. Hold it in the air. It's a big yellow piece of paper. Keep looking. It's a big yellow piece of paper. It's a big yellow piece of paper. Oh, I didn't. Keep looking. Throughout the day, someone is going to be on the ground looking for their magic ticket. When you find, oh, we have a winner! Come on up. Give her a big round of applause. I'll take your ticket. Yeah. So Marvin will bring a few copies of his book, Primed for Character Education, and he really wants to sign a copy. So feel free to take that over to the table and get him to sign that for you when he arrives. And there's one more prize in the room, so we'll see who gets that. When you find that ticket, just bring it to me throughout the day and you receive your prize. One way we grow in our character is doing things until we accomplish them, maybe even finding a ticket in under a chair. Chris Estrada wrote in his work titled Finisher, "The world is impressed by people who start things, but it is transformed by people who finish them." Anyone who has set foot into an environment where they wish to initiate change can agree with this. Krista DeBoer, the executive director of the Center for Urban Teaching, or CFOOT, is no stranger of what it takes to climb and conquer. Krista has been on the climb since the genesis of CFOOT and has played a pivotal role in the pioneering of many of the center's programs and leading teams through a variety of seasons and obstacles. Her relentless fortitude in the face of conflict and faith in the face of impossibility, along with her mentorship, friendship, is something we are always so grateful for. Krista provides leadership and support to the overall mission, vision, and strategy of the Center for Urban Teaching and oversees development of CFOOT's recruitment, training, and support efforts. Under her leadership, CFOOT has expanded its pipeline from 8 participants in 2010 to now serving over 1,500 prospective teacher candidates across the nation. Let's give Krista a big round of applause as she takes the mic. Nice job.
Thanks, Al. Good morning. My name is Krista DeBoer, and as Al said, I'm the executive director of the Center for Urban Teaching, and also, and more importantly, a proud alumna of our program, or as our team and family says, CFOOT. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to just really honestly thank you. It is so great to see so many of you in the room today, whether you're a teacher, a leader, a community advocate, a funder, or just a raving fan of somebody who's working on the front lines of education. We just want to really thank you for being here. Amidst all of the things going on in your work, in your life, in your family, and across what's happening in the world, we are truly humbled. I am truly humbled and honored that you have chosen to give us the gift of your time. There is a saying that goes 80% of success in life is just showing up. Showing up can lead to success by enabling you to reach your goals and to reach your fullest potential. It's a powerful habit that will serve you not only in your work, but will help you achieve your personal goals and just live a happier life. Showing up is about appearing consistently for things that matter. The simple practice of showing up, even on a Friday, in the morning, for a conference, helps you to focus on the process over the outcome, right? We like to say, don't forget to praise the progress, okay? Improve your performance. Move on from setbacks more easily and create more opportunities by just being in the right place at the right time. You don't know who is in this room right now that maybe you wouldn't have met today if you didn't show up. I don't know. Maybe you are sitting within 10 feet of your future spouse. Oh. That's right. I've been with Seafoot long enough to see some love connections blossom and bloom as a result of our training and experience. You don't know if you're sitting within 10 feet of your school or network's next school leader. You don't know if maybe it's not about you at all. But maybe somebody you're going to meet today and something you're going to say to them today is for them. They needed to hear what you had to say. They need to hear your story and your testimony to be encouraged to continue on. I'm convinced after doing this for a long time that your purpose, while we like to talk about ourselves, has very little to do with you. You know this because you're educators. You don't go to work to serve yourself. You're there to serve your kids. But when is the last time you really looked at the community you're working in and asked, how can I serve the adults around me? The people in your building. Yes, even that one. And we all have one on our staff. I have bad news for you. If you don't know who it is on your team, you're probably it. So thank you again for showing up and helping us celebrate 13 years of collaboration, networking, and growth through this conference. If you don't know Seafoot, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about us before I introduce you to our theme. Seafoot exists to identify, prepare, and support high-performing urban teachers, leaders, and schools. We currently work with schools and or have alumni, teachers, and leaders serving across the world, the nation, the state of Wisconsin, but our heart is right here in Milwaukee. Our vision is to become the #1 producer and provider of high-performing urban teachers and leaders that are better prepared, better retained, and better positioned to have an increased impact on student achievement. We strive to ensure that our teachers and leaders are better prepared because research continues to demonstrate that teacher quality, nothing else, is the #1 determining factor of student achievement. And leaders, you don't get off easy here, because leaders are the people that retain top teaching talent. Currently, 100% of teacher and leader candidates report an increased confidence, competence, and character as a result of Seafoot's training and experience. We strive to ensure our teachers and leaders are better retained because we know that over 50% of all teachers leave the field within the first 5 years, and 30% of teachers leave the field after only 1 year in the classroom. The statistics for attrition of principals are even worse. Currently, 81% of Seafoot alumni serve for 4 or more years. That is the highest retention rate that we know of locally or nationally with teachers and leaders. Now, it's good to produce and retain teachers and leaders, but it's not great if they don't have a positive impact on student achievement. which is why we also strive to ensure that our teachers and leaders are better positioned to have an increased impact on student achievement. And we're proud to announce that on average, CFOOT partner schools exceeded expectations on the 2021 Wisconsin State Report Card, beating both city and statewide scores in the areas of student growth and overall accountability, indicating that students at CFOOT partner schools being taught and led by CFOOT alumni, teachers, and leaders experience more and faster academic growth than they would at a school anywhere else in the district or state. We also know that the greater the level of involvement of a school with CFOOT, the better the scores. Given that CFOOT doesn't deny access to services based on school performance, that's indicative of systemic change. In alignment with our vision, those who have been with us for a while, you know this, we've been working to reach a goal of placing 500 alumni in Milwaukee. I am pleased to announce that as of this fall, we have officially surpassed our goal by training and placing 528 alumni in Milwaukee. Of those 528 alumni, 20 of those are sitting principals in the city of Milwaukee today. The theme of this year's conference is Climb and Conquer. Everybody say it, climb and conquer. Climb and conquer. If we are going to continue to move the needle in our classrooms, schools, and community in the face of the poverty, where 3 of every 4 children right now in the city of Milwaukee live in poverty, in the face of the violence, the drug abuse that we're seeing, the segregation, and the nation's largest racial achievement gap, we must continue to climb and conquer. Friends, especially if you work and live in the city of Milwaukee, we have to get this right. For too long, our community has looked at Milwaukee as an outlier. You are not. This city is a predictor of what is going to spread across our entire state. We have to do well by our children because they are our future. Now, when we think about this idea of climbing, we usually think about it in relation to climbing up. And that's kind of where our brains stop, with the ascent. But down climbing is also an important aspect of climbing. In fact, descending is the riskiest part of mountaineering. So many climbers rappel instead of simply climbing down using hand and footholds. Later today, you're going to have an opportunity to actually experience this yourself and try out our climbing wall. So today, as we consider our theme, Climb and Conquer, I want you to consider the climb involved in both the hills, the ups, and the valleys, or life's downs. One of my favorite songs about the climb is the song Hills and Valleys by Torrin Wells. So, before we get ready to physically climb the wall later today, it's 70 and sunny all outside are going out there, okay? Let's warm up our bodies, our minds, and more importantly, our spirits by listening in to the song by Torrin Wells. Throughout the Bible, hills and valleys oftentimes symbolize life's ups and downs. Many powerful and life-changing events have occurred on the mountains or the high hills, from Moses receiving the 10 Commandments to Jesus appearing in his heavenly form during the Transfiguration. There is also Jesus in the Mount of Olives, Jesus in Calvary, Mount Sinai, Mount of Beatitudes, Mount Moriah, Mount Carmel, Sermon on the Mount, and so many more. Hills represent the good times when we feel like celebrating in life. During hill situations, we're especially aware of God's presence with us and grateful for his blessings. like after achieving a goal or seeing a prayer answered. As inspiring as life's hills are, though, they don't last, since circumstances constantly change. A lot of suffering, on the other hand, happens in valleys, as God's people struggle with challenges and discouragement. Valleys represent the hard times in our life when we feel trouble and conclude things like failure, loss of a job or a loved one, financial troubles, or even health struggles. During valley situations, we may not sense God or even our people with us and can feel upset and discouraged by our challenging circumstances. But we all walk through valleys sometimes, since no one is insulated from the troubles of our world. The most famous passage about that is Psalm 23, which describes God as a shepherd who guides people with love. Psalm 23:4 proclaims, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." However, valleys, like hills, are also temporary as circumstances continue to change. Friends, Seafoot, one of our core values is Christ-centered, and I'm a Christian, so that's oftentimes where I'm going to talk to you from, my base. But even if you take it out of that context, the phases of development in education and business can be visualized as hills and valleys. You may have never considered this before. But take a look at this chart, which is used to describe the phases of development for beginning teachers. What does that look like? A hill or a valley? A little bit of both, okay? It's got both in there. While the hills and valleys tend to be less dramatic for those of us that have been in the field a while. Let's be honest now, okay? It is still something that we all experience regardless of years in. The intensity and length of the phase just varies. October, where we are, okay, typically marks the beginning of either the survival or the disillusionment period, depending on when your start date was, okay? If you are more than 6 to 8 weeks in, you are likely in disillusionment. Oh, no. Okay, everybody's with me. Now let's talk about what does that mean. The word kind of said it. But in case you're like, I don't know if that describes me, let me add a little bit of context. During disillusionment, the extensive time commitment, the realization that things are probably not going like you planned or as smoothly as you wanted, and low morale on the staff, I mean, not that anybody here has that, may contribute to this period of disenchantment. New teachers, and sometimes those of us who have been at this work for a while, begin questioning both our commitment and competence. Many teachers get physically ill during this time and contemplate quitting during this phase. Hi. If you came here today for me to grant you permission to quit, I have bad news. That's not a part of today's message. Now, here's the thing. That's the reality. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. You need to take care of yourself during this time. The people and the places that you are serving in are likely not at their best or not well. So you need to take time to intentionally fill yourself up with the good stuff. Both your body, your mind, and your heart. And as Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. What does that mean? It means when somebody comes in talking bad, complaining, saying bad things. You know, the thing is, I could come sit at your table right now and put a glass of poison in front of you and tell you to drink it. And not only would you not drink it because you know it would be bad for you, you would likely be like, you'd get away from me. You'd just go away. But how often do we drink the poison that people put down that contribute to our negative attitudes, feelings, and okay. All right. Okay. Don't worry if you're not with me yet. I got a few more things for you, okay? All right. Even businesses, okay? So this is why. Now hear this. You may be thinking, I can escape this if I just leave the field of education. All right, well, here we go. Next chart. Even businesses outside of the field of education experience hills and valleys as they work to scale their business. This chart shows the hills and valleys that businesses commonly experience as they work to scale their venture. The valleys of death are those key, you see that? They call it that. This is from the business world. They labeled it Valley of Death. Take a look. Take it in. The valleys of death are those key points in a company's growth or a school's growth, where you are bigger, but not quite big enough to have the next level of talent or systems needed to scale the venture. Sound familiar? How many of you recently expanded your school's enrollment by adding more seats? Or another section of a grade level? Or maybe you work for a network and you expanded your network by adding another school and could sympathize with the sentiment that while you are bigger, you do not have the next level of talent, systems, or resources needed to scale further or even serve your current situation well. While revenue is a key indicator, which you can see on there, it shows you where you are in relationship to the amount of money that your budget is based off of. What defines the hills and valleys is often more related to the number of employees than revenue listed. You can see the number of employees next to the little mountain climber icon on the chart. It jumps from 1 to 3 to 8 to 12 to 40 to 70 to 350 to 500. And if I kept going, the next level would be 2,500 to 3,500. You hear those gaps between those the valleys of death? That's where those come in. As you think about how many staff members your school has and or your revenue right now, where does your school currently sit in relation to this chart? Are you sitting confidently on one of the summits? Or are you somewhere in between? My point in sharing this is to encourage you. Take heart. What you are experiencing is normal. Everyone across all fields experiences both hills and valleys in life and work. In fact, since you are multidimensional, you may even experience a hill in one area of life while experiencing a valley in another. You might jump for joy as you reach a summit in one area of life and weep in a valley in another area of life, literally all in the same day. So as 1 Peter 4, 12 through 13 reminds us, we should not be surprised when difficulties come our way. In fact, we are to rejoice in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. My friends, it's supposed to be hard. The pain, struggle, and sacrifice you are experiencing as you are either climbing to the summit or down climbing into the valley, is not only normal, it's purposeful. In fact, at Seafoot, we believe that in order to be a great teacher or leader, you must be a great person first. As a result, we seek to serve the person first and the professional connection second by intentionally investing in people and their character. One of our core beliefs about the development of character is that it is formed more through pain, struggle, and sacrifice than through any other means. That's right. We believe in that. We intentionally work that into our programming and rejoice when we see our teacher and leader candidates encounter pain, struggle, and sacrifice, because we know that their grit, perseverance, courage, character, and unwavering resolve to accomplish what they set out to do is being forged. Do we abandon you during those times? No. We offer support. But we do not seek to rob our alumni and those we serve of those experiences by taking over and going through the hard stuff for them. Some of you just gave me a little look and a nod, like that explains some things, right? God is also present in both the hills and the valleys, as Isaiah 40:1-4 reminds us. Comfort, comfort my people. Every valley shall be raised up, every mountain and hill made low. The rough ground shall become level, and the rugged places a plain. Not only is God with you in the hills and valleys, but he also provides you with the people and the equipment you need to complete the climb. You were not designed to make this climb alone. Even mountain climbers don't usually climb solo. Climbing together is a traditional mountaineering leadership ethic, as it helps ensure both the safety and the success of the climbers. Friends, we are called to climb in community, not looking to our own interests, but to the interests of the others. When we work together in unity, the Bible says God literally commands his blessing to be upon us. What a phenomenal promise for those of us who share a similar faith. When we come into agreement, he hears us, shows up, and answers our prayers. Now, it can be hard for some of us to commit to community, especially if we've been hurt by people before, if we're guarded or prefer solitude. But community is God's desire for us and a sign of mature faith. Make sure that you gather a community of people to climb with. If you don't have one and aren't sure where to start, this conference is a great opportunity for you to build your community, and Seafoot is a great resource. You are also not designed to climb and conquer without the proper tools. Like mountaineers, we need to ensure that we use the equipment that we've been given when we set out for the climb. We are to put on the full armor of God, the belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, fit our feet with the gospel of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. And just in case you're feeling a little unqualified, remember, God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. As 1 Corinthians 1:26-29 says, brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose, intentionally chose, the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before him. Because God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And today's conference is an opportunity for you to further arm and equip yourself to do the work you have been called to do. When we know the meaning of God's sovereignty over the hills and valleys of our lives, we can rest with peace and even joy in all circumstances. Friends, no matter where you are on your journey right now, whether it's at the top of a summit or in the growing pains of the valley, remember, you were anointed and appointed for such a time as this. We are more than conquerors. If God is for us, who can be against us? As the song we listened to when we kicked off noted, no matter what I have, your grace is enough. No matter where I am, I'm standing in your love. On the mountains, I will bow my life to the one who set me there. In the valley, I will lift my eyes to the one who sees me there. When I'm standing on the mountain, I didn't get there on my own. And when I'm walking through the valley, I know I am not alone. You're God of the hills and the valleys, and we are not alone. We are more than conquerors. You were anointed and appointed for such a time as this. So, my friends, go forth, climb, and conquer.
Thank you, Krista, for sharing more about Seafoot's mission and vision and reminding us that no matter where we are in our journey right now, whether it's at the top of the summit or in the growing pains of the valley, remember you were anointed and appointed for such a time as this. We are more than conquerors. As Al mentioned earlier today, today's amazing program would not be possible without the support of a few key partners in the community. It is my pleasure to introduce a few of those organizations today and the representatives this morning. Our first Pursuing Passion sponsor for today are our friends at Wisconsin Lutheran College. We are so thankful for their partnership with WLC as they partner with us in the Masters in Innovation and Leadership program. This program, which has grown over the past 9 years, includes both hybrid classroom instruction and the practical experience consisting of school leadership over 3 summers. The program includes a full ride scholarship to qualified and selected applicants. If you are interested in learning more, make sure you are stopping at the Seafoot and WLC table later today. Let's give Brooke Smith a round of applause as he steps up to the mic.
And on behalf of WLC, just want to send some thank yous out. First of all, thank you to Krista and her crew for partnering with us in this unique opportunity. It's been a tremendous blessing for the college, and I hope that blessing has been returned in the type of work that we can provide for your students that come through our program. The other thing I want to mention is when you come through our program, I don't want to say it's going to be easy, all right? It's not easy, but nothing worth doing is very easy, and we've heard that before. So I just want you to know, we have many alum in this room right here. We have many current students in this room right here, and they are getting through it, and many of them have accomplished great goals while adding this to their plate of an already full day in life. So I just wanted to thank them for that. They've done tremendous work, and they've grown professionally and personally through that. You can't go through this experience and devote that much time and effort and not grow. And so I just want to thank them for doing that with us and appreciate their efforts as they move forward. The second thing I want to talk to you guys about is the other types of programs that we offer. So through Seafoot, you have the program for leadership and innovation, which could also lead to an admin license. I feel weird doing a commercial here when after that inspirational message. That's all. I'm going to keep it rolling. But we do have other programs. If you graduated with a bachelor's degree in something else besides education and you want to get your teacher license, we have a program for that. If you want to get your master's degree and you already have a valid Wisconsin license, we can get that master's degree partner with you for that. If you want to get an admin license, you already have a master's degree, you want to get an admin license for Wisconsin or that position, please let me know. We have a program. So with all that being said, again with the thank yous, I just want to make sure I thank our alum as well for having come through us and keeping us connected to this program. I want to thank our students who are currently in the program for letting me bother them so many times through emails, and I promise they won't be as many as what they started out to be in the beginning of the program, because you'll roll through it. but also just a thank you to all of you. I have a bracelet on my arm here that we use I coach football at WLC as well, and women's basketball and women's softball. So you get a little bit of coach speak right now. We have a bracelet on my hand here that says, light of the world. And that bracelet also says, show love, do work, shine. And what you do is so important now more than ever. And I want to encourage you, keep that message rolling what Krista said. It's so inspirational. And just please do what you do because it's very important. And I thank you because I can see what's going on in our schools with the kids that we get at the college. Thank you.
And speaking of leadership, one conversation I often have with teachers and leaders is that we signed up for teaching, and what we really receive in reality is leading people, leading classrooms, leading recess, leading how to eat lunch. And sometimes just asking kids, like, aren't you so thankful we expect you to act like a human here? We're all leaders. What we really receive is leadership. So whether we are leading a classroom, leading a school, or leading a business or a network, we are all developing leaders in the room. And I'm first in line to admit, I don't think we'll ever arrive. We'll always be learning in the infinite game. As leaders, we sign up to benefit and serve others. This service of pouring into others that we love, if not kept in check, has an output cost that sometimes can leave us drained, exhausted, on a Friday. Do I really have to go? Or stuck on our climb towards impact and success. Have you ever been stuck in your climb? Have you ever been tempted to just give up? Climb a smaller molehill? Help wanted. Hey, I could hand out Cokes. I could do that. I could be really good at it, right? It's oftentimes the case because sometimes it's easier to think this way rather than move on because of burnout as a result of helping other people that desperately need our help. Getting stuck is easy. Dr. Dennis Humphrey, who's going to come and speak to us in a minute, helps people get unstuck. Since 1995, Dennis has served as a trusted advisor in both business and organizational development in higher ed and behavioral health. His experiences range from frontline staff training, including our team, which we continue to benefit from, and he came and trained us over a year ago. With 30 years of experience in business, consulting, and coaching, he moves his clients to clarity in their personal and professional purpose and goals. Dennis is the co-owner of Eden Business, a boutique firm focusing on leaders and organizational health. He currently leads a convene board in Milwaukee and eastern Wisconsin and is developing a second board in northern Illinois. He's done quite a few things which are scripted out in his bio in your booklet. But when you talk to Dennis, his simple description of his work is this: I help leaders get unstuck in business and life concerns. When leaders get unstuck, they bring thrive into their companies and communities. Leaders are often isolated and alone. They face many challenges to make their companies successful, profitable, and influential in their marketplace. Dennis joined Convene Community because he believes in the transformative work of leaders who seek wisdom together to align their faith and practice. Let's give a huge Seafoot-style round of applause as we welcome Dennis up to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me? All right. This is fun. My mother started out in a one-room schoolhouse with a potbelly stove that she had to light every day. And I have this wonderful picture of her with 8 rows of desks all lined up. And so The legacy of my teaching comes from my mother, and I am just delighted here. I'm delighted to be with the Krista and team. I've gotten to know them over the last couple years. I have deep admiration and respect for what they do, and a growing affection, so that's exciting. You showed this picture up here that had a descent into October. And I was reminded of the great preacher E.V. Hill, who had this Easter Sunday, who he would say, it's Friday, but Sunday's a-coming. And so it sounds like the sermon here is, it's October, but Christmas break is coming. Sounds like that's more appropriate here. So my task today is not to give you a data dump. You have some information that I'll highlight in the brochure that you have. But my real task today here is to come and talk to you about your heart, our hearts. You see, I believe that when a leader's heart thrives, everything around them thrives. And how we care for our hearts is vital to how we care for our students. And so what we're going to do today, I'm going to ask a question, I'm going to tell you a story, I'm going to give you some information and some context, and we're going to do a couple exercises together. We'll try it in a big room. It'll be a bit of an experiment. But the whole idea is, my goal at the end of this is that you come out of this thinking, how can I better care for my heart? Because that will better care for my students. And then how can I pick up some tools, not only for me, but maybe for them? And if I can help them care for their hearts in grade 3, how does that benefit them in high school and beyond? And so with that, we're going to do an exercise here. I think I have, there we go. So here we are. Caring for your heart is caring for your students. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start to take a journey into caring for your heart, the concept of mindfulness, and we're going to do a little exercise right now. So what I need you to do, I need you to put anything in your hands that are down. I need you to sit up straight in your chair, just like you would ask your students to do. I'd like you to put your hands in your lap. I would like you to close your eyes. And I'll pull out the counselor voice to make it easy. And I would like you to take a deep breath from your belly. Not from the top of your chest, but from your belly, and let your diaphragm drop and open up and pull air into your lungs. So take a deep breath. Hold it for 3, 2, 1, and let it out. And feel your body just sink down. And do it again. Take a deep breath. Hold it and let it out. And now for the next 30 seconds, I want you to just focus on your breath going in and out. And that's all I want you to focus on. All right, take one last deep breath. Let it out. And when you feel ready, open your eyes. Look around. Turn to the person beside you, and in 2 words, tell them what that experience was like. Yeah, I think I said 2 words. Yeah. So, why did I have you do that? I had you do that because I was in a conference yesterday sitting in the seat where you were, and I got a phone call, and I learned that my wife was getting terminated from her job. And I was one of the organizers of the conference, so I was in it. So now I had to come back in and sit down, and I had to be present, and I had to pay attention to what was going on up there, not what was going on in here. And it was hard. It was really hard. I actually did what you just did. I sat down, took some deep breaths, focus. Okay, let me get back here. See, there's so much competing for us and competing for our minds. And it comes into our classrooms. And so, as we go here, one of the questions I have for you is, why do we teach? And is it possible that one of the reasons we teach is we had a great experience in school and we just wanted to continue that life? I know a number of high school teachers, that was their motivation, just wanted to live high school the rest of their life. Maybe we like the schedule, the summer's off, all the major holidays. Trouble with that is travel at peak times all the time. Maybe we wanted to be in a job that would always give us all the resources we ever could ask for and need so we could get the job done. Not so much sometimes. Maybe we wanted to be rich. How's that working out? Some of that stuff might be true. But you're going to accuse me of being all bubbles and unicorns here. I think we teach because we have vision. We see the potential in people, in children and youth. We see them before they're formed, and we want to be part of their glorious emerging. We want to see them equipped with good information and the power to think. We live for that moment when a student realizes that he or she has just mastered an idea, and their world is now transformed because they have the power of knowledge. I think those moments energize us as teachers. I know it does for me. I teach in the college classroom. And when I see those lights go off, I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm here. We live for that moment when the light goes off in their brain and their eyes glow, and we see in them a personal satisfaction of learning. We see that in them. Our students' learning puts an emotional deposit into the bank account of our heart. Isn't that true? You feel in your students light up and they go, I got it. And that brightness comes on in them. Your heart, that's a cha-ching in your heart. And we delight in the idea that God has allowed us to use our gifts to transform and maybe even just an earthly sense, be part of his redemptive process in the life of our students. Well, I'll never forget the student or the teacher that taught me that. He was Mr. White. And Mr. White was this very dignified British man, product of British boarding schools, always wore a coat, always had a tartan tie on. He had that beautiful British accent, but it was muted a bit from the years that he lived in Canada. And he scared me. He scared me because I had attention deficit disorder and a bit of dyslexia, and now I'm in English class where I have to write. And he's British. He knows the King's English. And there's all that going on. So he came to me, he sought me out at my locker at the end of the semester. We're on a semester system, so one set of 4 classes and then another set of 4 in the next semester. He sought me out at the end of the fall semester, and he comes to me. I turn around, and there's Mr. White standing. And I'm like, what are you doing here, Oh, no. And he says to me, Dennis, you have not accomplished everything you need to accomplish in this class, and I'm going to fail you. And he paused, and then he said, but I want you to re-register in the spring and come back and take it from me. And so I did. And Mr. White, through that second semester, never alluded or hinted that this is my second time through the material. He allowed me to be the smartest kid in the class. He gave me a sense of dignity in learning, and he allowed this B, but mostly C student to have academic success. And he taught me something there. He taught me the value of making the deposit into someone. And I always wanted to go back and thank him, because that really was a transformational time for me. However, unfortunately, later in his career, Mr. White hung himself. You see, the spark of his students' learning was not enough to fill the bank account of his heart. He needed more than that. And as much as he loved and cared for us and taught us the beauty of writing and the value of reading and the wonderful expression in language, it wasn't enough for him. Such sadness for that man. And so for us too, the spark of learning in our students is not enough to fill the bank account of our heart. Have you all had a day like that? You felt that, right? And you've actually had, yeah. I was thinking about you all yesterday, and thinking about my mom, and she'd come home and she would say, I had such a headache today. And the stress of life and everything that was going on, and yet she continually stood up in front of her students and gave them what they need. You felt that, right? You know what those days are like. And so there's a lot that goes on for us, and there's a lot of stress, and there's a lot of pressure, and it's not just our work, it's our family, it's our life. You felt that this morning. It cost you a lot to get here, emotionally, physically. Some of you had to get children to the right place. Some of you had to get an elderly parent somewhere. Some of you had to call to make sure you let the dog out so they didn't wet on the kitchen floor. All kinds of stuff. Maybe there's a financial crisis. Maybe there's an emotional or relational crisis that you feel in a room enough like with this many people. We know that to be true. And all of that can lead to the state of burnout. And burnout is just when you're overwhelmed and you have a lot of stress. And you're just tired. And you don't feel like you have anything in your bank. You don't have a lot of energy anymore. And burnout is taken care of pretty easy. Like, that's why you need these breaks, right? Because you feel burnt out. But you go into the break, you get some time off, and you come back and you take a breath, and your heart for teaching is there, and you come back again. And that's how we work with burnout. But there's another problem. This one's much more serious. Secondary traumatic stress. And I know in a room like this, as you teaching in the settings that you do, your students face a lot of horrible and challenging things in their life. And they've seen terrible things and difficult things. And you, by proxy, have seen it with them. And you've watched it with them. And secondary traumatic stress is a traumatic response that happens when we watch or see someone go through a traumatic event. And with trauma, as you would know, trauma actually changes how our brain works. It elevates the fight and flight aspect of our brain. It puts us on guard all the time. And with trauma, it doesn't always diminish. So PTSD is a diagnostic category for what happens to a person when they experience a trauma. That part of their brain elevates and it's always on. Their bandwidth for stress goes about this big. So they spill a cup of coffee and they go into a rage. You know, we know about trauma. We've all seen trauma responses. You've even seen it in your children. And so with the secondary trauma response, what happens is that happens to us as we watch. My background's in clinical mental health. I started out in juvenile corrections. And, I've just seen a lot of crap. And I've had to actually go take care of myself, because when you hear a lot of that, so now you hear that, you see it in your students, and you've got this burnout thing happening. It's October and you can't wait till Thanksgiving. So you got that going on. Now let's layer it over with some traumatic stress. That leads to a dangerous cocktail called compassion fatigue. And compassion fatigue is just what it sounds like. I am tired of helping everybody. I am tired of looking after everybody else's problem. I'm tired of hearing the same old whining from the same old people all the time. That's compassion fatigue. And we get there. And we get there through this combination. Burnout, traumatic stress. And I'm going to go back one. If you look here, study just released this year. 43 to 75% of teachers this is a new field of study. They haven't actually looked at it. They know what nurses and firefighters and police and ambulance, they know about them. But teachers, they haven't done a lot of work with us. And so the number is that wide. So 43 to 75% of school personnel feel this secondary traumatic stress. This is a real issue for us. And it leads to compassion fatigue. And the trouble with compassion fatigue at that point, it creates a lot of noise in us. And the reason it creates noise is because we love what we do. We love our kids, we love our students, we love to teach. And we want to do this. So now I'm standing in a classroom full of my students, wanting to care and love for them, and actually not caring about their problems a bit. Well, that's not exactly true. That's just how I feel. And that creates this incongruity in us where this is not my values to feel and think this way. It's not right for me to not have compassion for them, but there I am. And so what happens now is all that noise, all that head trash starts to move around. And we start to question our call. We start to question our ability. And we start to question everything that's going on. And do I need to find another career? Like Chris has said, how many students, how many teachers, young teachers just blow out early on? This is part of what's going on. And who's there caring for their hearts? And are they caring for their hearts? And how do they care for their hearts? So now all that head trash goes on, and we got. Oh, am I missing a slide here? Maybe not. There we go. We got this going on. I expected one thing out of my career, but I got this other reality. And expectations provide us the greatest sense of joy when they're met and the greatest sense of disappointment when they're not. And so what happens when we get into this situation, expectations and reality get all confused, we lose our boundaries. We forget, hey, I'm not alone. I've got my fellow teachers, they know this. I got my administration, they can help me with this. I have my other friends, I have my life outside of this school. I'm not alone. The other thing we forget is we're not the parent. Yes, it's hard, but we are not their parent. And we have to remember that because we need that boundary. And the other thing we have here is, we're not responsible for other people's pain. And that's where the STS comes in. Because secondary traumatic stress, what we start to do is take responsibility for other people's pain. And that's where it gets all confusing for us. So let me flip back here. We got head trash going on. We got our expectations and our boundaries all messy now. And now the devil's tool comes in. Shame. You know what shame is. Guilt is I did something bad. Shame is I am something bad. So now, when we're in compassion fatigue and we're questioning, hey, this is not really what I believe, but this is how I feel, and that's incongruent, now the enemy's going to come in and goes, no, that's actually who you are. You're actually not kind. You're actually not good. Not good at what you do. You're not kind to your students. You just pretend to be kind. And he starts to mess with us. And what shame does, shame is the vector that the enemy uses to unravel creation. You cannot be creative when you feel a lot of shame. And shame is a thing that creeps in, and it's all over our society. So I've left you a resource that you can, there's a book, really good book I can do about shame. But understand, at the end of the day, this passion fatigue messes with our identity. We fundamentally start to forget and not believe who we are and who God made us to be. So we did our exercise 1, breathing. Now we're going to do exercise 2. Got a couple questions. Take a minute or so at your table and just kind of jot some of these down. What's the emotional noise that you would like to reduce in your life? What expectations do you need to adjust? What's the head trash that you keep saying to yourself that's not true? And what's that shame voice, that false identity, that thing that you keep saying to you that's not true? So take a minute and just real quick and jot. All right, I'm not going to ask you to share that. That's a really important list I want you to be mindful of, because it's going to come back. I'm going to remind you a little later on. So what does all this do? What does all this compassion fatigue do? What does all this secondary traumatic stress and burnout do? What it does, it puts us in a spot where for the most part, our body is here, but our mind is not. And how many times have you done that with your students? Self-confessed ADHD student, you know where my mind was in the class, right? I was not present a whole lot. It wasn't because of stress necessarily, but stress more than anything, and burnout and compassion fatigue make it really difficult for us to be present. And so the question is, present for who? It's not present for other people, it's present for ourselves. Knowing, okay, what's going on with me right now? And so the big question then becomes, well, how do we do this? How do we get ourselves so we can be present? And what we're going to talk about is mindfulness in a second, but the concept here is we need to slow down our body so we can slow down our brain, so we can slow down our mind, so we can actually tune into what's really going on with us. And this is how we start to move ourselves out of compassion fatigue. But we got to get some things right. We got to root ourselves in some truth, because truth is important. I don't know if that's going to jump up. No. Okay, I'll read those to you. God promises us peace. John 14:27 says this, I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and peace of heart. And the peace that I give, the world cannot give you. So don't be troubled and afraid. Philippians 4:6-9. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need. Thank Him for all He's done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. And you say to me, okay, Dennis, I know that's to be true. I learned that in Sunday school. I hear that in church. We tell our students that. But I actually don't think I'm believing it at the moment. And the reason all we end up doing is we have to hold on to that. We have to cling to that. But we have to do some things to help get us to that to be a reality for us. And so how do we do that? How do we allow that perspective actually to be operative in us? And one of the ways we're going to do that, and I want to share with you, is the concept of mindfulness. How many of you heard about mindfulness? Probably a great number of you, so you kind of know what I'm talking about. Mindfulness means maintaining a moment-by-moment awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our body sensations, our surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing, and most importantly, non-judgmental lens. How many times have you asked yourself, what's going on with me? And the very next thing you said was not a positive thing about you. Probably because that shame factor has caused you to be judgmental on yourself. So, there's a lot you can learn. We've got just a short, brief amount of time. So my goal today is just to give you some exercises. One was our breathing. 2 was just kind of doing an inventory, a mental inventory. 3, we're going to do something a little bit fun here. We're going to mindfully eat some candy. Now the purpose of this, one is to have fun, because education needs to be fun. But 2, kind of as an object lesson for us, to say, okay, when we slow down our body, when we slow down our brain, and we slow down our mind, and those are 2 different things, then we can actually pay attention to what's going on around us. So, in front of you, you have a selection of candy. Do not fight over the chocolate. In your cup is a sugar-free option. So if you don't want sugar, the one in the cup is the one you want to use. All right, everyone got a candy selection? Okay. Okay, this is a quiet, reflective exercise. So no giggling. So what I want you to do is I want you to make your candy selection. I want you to pick it up. I want you to hold it in front of you. I want you to look at that wrapper. Note what color it is. What does it say? What does it say on that wrapper? Where did it come from? Notice how the light might bounce off that. So right now, all you're doing is just looking at the wrapper. You haven't opened your candy yet. Ah, I see how well we follow instruction here. All right, so now you may open your candy. Notice, how does it feel in your hand? What is the sound that the wrapper makes as you tear it apart? Notice the anticipation you are feeling as you want to pop this candy into your mouth. Your mouth is watering just a little bit. What physical sensations do you have right now as you hold the candy? What emotions are you feeling? Just note them. Now look at the candy. What's its texture? What's its color? What's its weight? Now I want you to smell it. Don't eat it. Just smell it. Does that smell trigger another sensation? Where do you feel that smell? Do you feel it in your head? Do you feel it in your nose? Do you feel it in your lungs? Does it melt in your hand? Okay, now you may put it in your mouth. For those of you that already put it in your mouth, you can put another one in your mouth. Don't swallow it. Don't chew. Roll it around in your mouth. How does it feel? Move it back and forth, tap it against your teeth. Where do you taste it? Do you taste it in the front of your mouth, or is it the back or the side? Where do you feel that? Does the taste of the candy change over time? What's happening to the candy in your mouth? How do you feel as you eat the candy? All right, you may chew it, chomp on it, swallow it, anything but pull it out of your mouth and stick it on the bottom of your chair. Is there a lingering taste? How do you feel physically? Are you more thirsty now? Is your mouth full of saliva and flavor? How do you feel physically? How's your body feel? What emotions do you have? Take a little while and think about that. turn to the person next to you and in 3 words tell them that exercise. What did that feel like? All right, now here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about the last time you walked into the staff room and there was a big jar of candy there, and it's coming up, Halloween, right? Did you just reach in, grab one, pop one in your mouth, and walk out to the next thing you were going to do? Or did you sit down and you actually taste that? When you eat, do you actually taste your food? Or do you just, is it fuel? And you're just feeling, see, here's the thing. We get into trouble with our hearts because our bodies are going so fast. And unless we slow our body down, those scriptures that we hang on to about peace are harder to integrate. This is why it's good to pause. Because pausing and slowing down actually gives us an opportunity to listen to what's going on to our bodies. There's a wonderful book. I would commend it to all of you teaching in an urban setting. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a big one. I highly recommend the Audible if you like those. But it's about trauma. And the one thing that trauma does, secondary traumatic stress does, it causes us to stop listening to our body. And when you stop listening to your body, it's harder to get to your heart. And so, as you think about this exercise, I asked you about 15, 20 questions about a candy. A candy that we normally just pop into our mouth, move on to the next thing, and almost forget that we have a candy in our mouth. And so, if you're going to care for your heart, which means you're actually going to care for your students, I'm going to encourage you and implore you to find moments to slow down. Because when we don't, that's when the stress we're feeling turns into burnout. And then we listen and we experience and we absorb all the trauma in the lives around us. And we end up in compassion fatigue. And that feels really incongruent because I want to be loving and kind, but I don't care anymore. So what do? And now the voice of shame comes in. And now we're struggling to believe that God has peace for us. And so my encouragement to you is to slow down. Slow your body down, so you can slow your brain down, so you can slow your mind down, so you can listen to your heart, and then actually ask yourself, what's my heart need right now? And then you can start to take action. And we're going to do another exercise here. Once again, we're going to close our eyes again. So this is like that drill. We did it once, we're going to do it again. This time, what I really want you to do is pay attention to your body. You're going to sit there, close your eyes. You're going to listen to my voice. So hands in your lap, feet flat on the ground. We're taking a deep breath, just starting that rhythmic breathing, slowing your breath down. Where do you feel the stress in your body? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your head, your scalp? Is it in your neck? How about your jaw? Where's the weight of the day resting in your body? Because your body's keeping score. Is it in your back? I want you to take a deep breath. Hold it for 4 seconds. Take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it out and let your body just sink into that exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and imagine wherever that stress is, that's now going to move down your back, across your legs, across your toes onto the floor. Take a deep breath and exhale. What are you noticing? How do you feel? Now, keep your eyes closed. And when you're ready, open your eyes and look at the screen. Isn't this how we want to walk in front of our students? Isn't this how our students want to see us? When we care for our hearts, and there's some tools in the pamphlet you can look at that can help you with this. When we care for our hearts, that's what they get. But there's another more important thing here. Every morning when you and I wake up and put our feet on the floor, our Heavenly Father's standing there with that for us. Because just as we delight in our children, in our classrooms, in our own children, He delights in us. And all He's asking us to do when it gets busy and stressful is to remember His peace, slow our body down, slow our brain down, slow our mind down, listen to our heart, ask what we need, and then turn to Him who's smiling at us because He wants to provide for that. You've been a wonderful audience. It's a delight to be here today. Have a good night.
Oh, I think I'm up. I have to go. Yeah.
Great reminder that we need to slow down. That we need to be mindful of being in the moment as the only place where we can truly be root for our kids, especially if we're going to share that moment with others.
So I hand off to you when we're done, I think.
No, you're next.
Oh, do I have to speak?
And Jose, we have another.
I'm mic'd.
Another true pioneer of the
Relax.
educational impact in Milwaukee is a professor who rejected the status quo of teacher preparation. He grew weary not of the work, but of witnessing other educators, his former students, finish college and go off to climb the mountain of teaching, only to be knocked off and defeated, and in some cases, leaving the field of education entirely. He knew a change was necessary. He initiated a radical new way of approaching the training of teachers in Milwaukee as they were to thrive in the classroom. His vision and his initiative has led to thousands of students being impacted, thousands of teachers being trained and coached, and now teams in schools being trained in Milwaukee, Racine, Madison, Kenosha, South America, and yes, even Islamabad, Pakistan. Our trusted founder and friend, Dr. D. Dussault, often says to us, never underestimate what God can do through you. Hashtag global impact. Are you serious, Dr. D? Ray is the founder of the Center for Urban Teaching. He has been professor of education at Wisconsin Lutheran College and launched the Center for Urban Teaching in 2001. Prior to joining the education faculty at WLC, Ray served in various school principalships, including Shoreland Lutheran High School and Atonement Lutheran School here in Milwaukee. Ray embarked on an intense study of high-performance urban teaching, conducting observations and research in some of the highest-performing urban classrooms in the country, including New York, Houston, and Florida. Ray has been frequently presented his findings as developed a theoretical model that integrates the importance of beliefs as an essential element in the framework for high-performance teaching known as the high-performance triad. Ray currently offers his insight and guidance as Seafoot moves into the future. Let's give a huge round of applause for our next hometown hero, Dr. Ray Dussault.
Wow. I really expected Jose to help me up to the stage. Yeah. As the senior member of the group here. So when Krista asked me if I would like the opportunity to address you, and I assured her that I would try to make my comments at least as long as my introduction. And I asked her, what do you want me to talk about? And she gave me the freedom to do whatever I want to do. So, Krista talked about data. Dennis talked about mindful relaxation. I think I'm going to talk about teas and trees. First of all, tea. Here's to you. They are serving back there. They are serving a tea called Sweet Dreams. I'm looking around to see who's drinking Sweet Dreams tea. Okay? Well, I am, and so if I doze off during my presentation, thank you for the tea. So, okay, keep those handy. Trees. Oh, here it is. It's a little gizmo. See what happens here. So, the theme, as I start out, is buckle up, because we're going to talk about some exciting things that are going on, since I have free rein to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And we're going to do this looking at, through my perspective, the joys and opportunities that we share chasing this idea of high performance. Here are the trees. I told you, teas and trees. When I think of climb and conquer, one of the things that I think about that comes to my mind is the joyful ride that I've had on various occasions through mountains, mountain scenery, sometimes with the fall colors in full display. A reminder of the wonderful creation that God has given to us and He surrounds us with. Now, if you take off and you want to do a little hiking, after you enjoy the view, you take off on one of those little trails, and what you're experiencing, Dennis ought to like this, is tranquility. The peacefulness that comes over us as we set aside the daily challenges and the disappointments that are sometimes part of our world in education. Another thought that comes to mind when I think about climbing is, it doesn't look like climbing, but there's another phrase called, I can fly. Years ago, back close to that 2001, but moving a few years forward, we were out visiting some of the great schools in America. And I asked the students who were with me to journal about the experience. One of the journals contained, and if I said the name of this person, many of the people in this room would know who I'm talking about, because some of you might have been there at the same time. But she wrote in her journal, she said, I can fly. She saw the possibilities of where she could take the children that she was observing. And she wanted them to come with her and fly, to soar above all of the disappointments, all of the challenges that are out there in some of the neighborhoods, which are high poverty, high violence, high abuse, and the beat goes on. She determined that in her world, truly no child should be left behind. She envisioned the words of Isaiah 40:31 that are on the screen for you. She viewed each child as a precious gift from God, and she wanted them to fly above all of those things that are indifferent and the mediocrity that surrounds them. And she was ready to fly with them. Those of you who have worked through Seafoot's summer program will understand what it means when I say that this young lady was learning to trust the process, to know that what we are doing is intentional and it makes a difference. So you've let's check. Okay, we fly and then we experience joy. You know, I want to stop and thank every one of you for being here today. Krista said it before, and it's my turn now. It's my hope that this conference will refresh your passion, empower your voice, and unite you in a partnership of purpose that will win the battle of excellence in our schools. As you step forward, you will need to be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually strong. You need to equip yourselves for the journey with the power-packed trio of high expectations, I always expect more, relentless respect. My phrase for that, of course, is respect from everyone, for everyone, every time. And finally, absolute trust in God's plan. Absolute trust in God's plan. Later I'll reference my high-performance triad that was talked about, and I talk about this in terms of spirituality and the tremendous love that God has already shown to us. God's plan. It's almost 22 years ago that I put this passage into my backpack when I started climbing the mountain. God says in Luke 1:37, with God nothing is impossible. The Center for Urban Teaching emerged from a need to transform education in the city of Milwaukee, and it began with a simple focus that you've heard about already, but it comes down to you, the teachers who are in this room today. The one variable that is absolutely essential if we're going to reach high performance is in the preparation and the induction into our schools of high-performing teachers. We need to be very strategic about this. We need to be very intentional about it as we go forward. When I was a professor for 20 years, I knew that we were doing a great job of giving a theoretical education. They knew the theories. They could do unit plans. They could do all kinds of plans. But if they took a position in Milwaukee, they weren't ready for what was going to hit them between the eyes. And the simple fact of life is that the Center for Urban Teaching was throwing these graduates a lifeline and saying, if you want to learn how to do this, you have to spend more time with children. You have to be prepared. We always loved to say that we had to get a hold of an 18, 19, 20-year-old and let them cry. Let them get the tears out of the way, because what we're doing is hard work. Oh, I love the backward button. So, what we do with people is build relationships. You cannot make a difference in the life of anyone until you build a relationship with them. It is so important that we're able to do that so that we can change lives. Seafood is in the business of building relationships and in the business of changing lives. And we do that through the power of the Holy Spirit. I cannot do it alone. I need to know that when I get up in the morning, I pull on my pants and I go to work, wherever it is I'm going to do, I do it knowing that God is working through me, and He'll get a hold of the ones He wants to get a hold of. It isn't for you to figure out how to win with every child. It is your job to be there for every child. And finally, God's going to win where He's going to win. So you want success? A friend of Seafoot once told us, what you need more than a concern about success is faithfulness. What you need to do is you need to be faithful to your calling. You need to know that what you are doing, you do by the power of the Holy Spirit working through you. We don't apologize for being a Christian organization. We don't apologize for having values at our core. But as we do this, we constantly get the question, whoop, I love that backward button. How do you do this? Well, some of you may recognize what that looks like in a summer school setting. In our plan, things are intentional. I don't know, Krista, if you've been called this in a long time, but back in the beginning, we called her the Queen of Procedures because it was all about procedures. Figure out what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and implement it consistently, and go about the business. I want you to join me and read this in unison so that we get it. The true shepherd of Israel, our God. We said we can't do it alone. We've got God doing all of these things. So in this room right now, some of you are dealing with stuff. Okay? There are some of you who could be tempted to abandon the climb. We need you to stay strong. We need you on the climb. You have to remember why you started the climb. What was your purpose? What is your purpose today? You need to keep that purpose in front of you. Stop thinking about the fact that there must be an easier way to do it, because I'm not so sure there is an easier way. It's just going to be hard. But God always is there with you. He's guiding you step after step after step. Sometimes I say, God, I really don't like this path. I want something easier. I want something faster that'll get me to my destination that I have in mind. I have to remember that I have a shepherd that I trust. And he is with me, a wise guide, carefully creating a trail for my life. It might not be the fast track, but I can guarantee you that what God sets out there for you is the right track. Not the fast track, but the right track. And it will get you where you need to go. I love to go back to the book of Jeremiah and think about what the assurance that God gives to me there, that He has a plan for me, and it's a plan that is going to be a good plan. Well, I could also say that the way Krista says that you are anointed and appointed for such a time as this. Okay. Throughout my life, I have had goals in mind, but God, in His mercy and grace, has lovingly given me much more. I walked toward a destination, but He gave me much more. I set out to do crazy things that were my dreams, and the Lord said, okay, but here's more. 12 years ago, I told an urban gathering that things were bad out there. I told them that because it was bad out there. The headline on March 25th, 2010, said it in big bold letters: Black fourth graders post worst reading scores in the United States. You go in reverse, thinking back to March of 2010, and we knew that we had our marching orders. We had to do something to turn that around. Seafoot began to accelerate what we were doing. We knew that we needed more people. The people who were supporting us, our partners out there, said, you need more. We need more people. And today, they're still saying that. This is great. I started with 3 people, and look around you. This is wonderful. But it's not enough. It's just like I said with God and my plans. He said, I'll give you that, but I want more. There's more for you to do, more that needs to be done. We need to do more, but we also need, as we work harder, we need to work smarter about this enterprise that we're in. And one of the realities is, don't do it alone. Don't try to do it alone. The job is too big and too hard and too difficult. Don't climb alone. On the mountain trails, they will often say to people, don't go up that trail alone. Take someone with you. If you slip and fall, you want to have a partner there who's going to be with you and take care of you and make sure that you get home afterwards. Lean and learn from your friends and the partners who journey with you. There are great things happening around us. We can talk about the fact that there's trouble in River City, but what we can also say is we are being blessed. Another cohort just launched this fall on a path for their master's degree program. A few of you are in the room, right? Can I see some hands over there? Okay, so we have people who are starting their journey for a master's degree in the leadership and innovation, but with that comes the potential for an administrative license. What a joyful thing to see you in the room, joining a lot of other people who have been on that same trail and have climbed that same mountain before you. And we appreciate and so much every one of you. Every school leader knows that we are losing teachers from the city at an alarming rate. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What now? Lindsay Gerke, who's one of the Seafoot staff, is just completing her PhD studies at Concordia University, Wisconsin. Hi, Lindsay. She chose that issue of retention as her dissertation topic. Lindsay has been a teacher, a school leader in our city, and all of the participants in her study have taught in the same Milwaukee school for a minimum of 5 years. And she did her research with them to identify what brought them back year after year after year after year. We sometimes identify the problem, but we don't look at what is working. So she was after the question, what is working out there? And the responses that, from the participants helped her identify 3 key themes that contribute to teacher longevity in the same school. Those factors were, first of all, leader support. We keep teachers in schools because we have people in administrative positions who support them, who have their back, who respect them. And this is a message to all of my school leaders out there and all of my will-be school leaders out there. You have a significant job to do because your job is to love your teachers. Your job is to help them be strong and successful. You are there to have their back. If you need to have a conversation with them about improvement, that's a one-on-one private conversation. It's not everybody's business. So in addition to leader support, the second one is positive school culture. The development, and that's everybody's business here, that we develop and maintain a positive school culture. And the third one, Christian faith. And when I say that, I will tell you that not every participant in there was teaching in a Christian school. But you found people, we have people today, let's realize it, and let's praise God for it, that we have Christian teachers in public education who go to work every day to let their light shine, who understand that they are, and that we are, the light and the salt that God has put here, to the salt to take on the decay that's in our society, and the light that shines a path to show the way to Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. I believe that it's noteworthy that leadership is looking at positive ways to take care of this teacher shortage. And the importance of that is it's a ripple effect out there. Because if we can keep teachers for a longer period of time, they know what needs to be done. We're not breaking in a new teacher every year for the same group of children. And the achievement levels are going to be improved, and we're going to find ourselves in a much more successful environment for education. It was referenced before, but I just want to close, as I move toward the close of my comments. The high performance triad has had a couple different looks in terms of its visual presentation. What hasn't changed are the key elements of the triad. As you look at this today, you'll see that up on top we have the instructional integrity. This is that teachers know what to teach, when to teach it, and how to teach it, okay? When you get a teacher, that's what colleges are supposed to be doing for us, is give them the readiness for instructional integrity. What they don't always successfully give, and you need to support your beginning teachers, and CFOOT works to develop that in your beginning teachers, is don't lower the bar. High expectations. A critical element for us to succeed is that we keep the expectations high for the children of the city. And let's keep the expectations high for one another as well, okay? So we have the instructional integrity with high expectations. Moving down is the respect that we have and the relationship building. Right below it is a little byline for that. The secret sauce here for respect is that if you don't know me very well, we have to spend some time to develop that little thing called respect between one another, okay? Why is that important? Because until you respect me, you won't trust me. Not really trust me. Not to tell me what's really on your heart, okay? So I need to get the respect, which gives me the trust, which gives me open communication. That you know that you can say something to me and it won't be anybody else's business. It's just us talking to each other. Or even in a faculty room. I've been in faculty rooms where teachers didn't want to talk to each other because they didn't respect around the room and they didn't trust around the room. So issues come up, but they're pretty silent about it. When we talk about building a culture, we've got to build a culture that is going to that's going to work. And the third one is unconditional love, that spiritual focus. And it all wraps around, and there's other reminders there about no excuses and so on, but it finally comes to the core of the thing, which says, beliefs consistently guide our behaviors. What we believe guides what we do on a day-to-day basis. I've been here with many of you before and talking about the Maasai warriors and the powerful words that they speak when they greet each other. And they say to each other, Kaserian and Jerry, and that means simply, how are the children? Their concern is family. Their concern is the children. And I always come back at this point and say, and Milwaukee, how are your children? How are the children in your neighborhood, in your school, in your city, in your state, and in your country? Shalom is a Jewish word. We talked about peace before. I want to leave you with the reality that peace is not the absence of trouble. Peace is the presence of contentment. We can be in the midst of personal issues and battles and still have peace, contentment within. So as we close up today, I bid you shalom. Have peace. Have contentment. And the Holy Spirit will guide you and He will lead you as you watch over God's children. So, climb on and conquer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. D, for living out your vision and your purpose and for your model of resiliency to stay on the mountain and to climb and conquer. Thank you for your determination to continue climbing despite countless setbacks and obstacles. You are truly an inspiration to me and many others, and we'll continue to be so grateful for you. At this time, I'd like to invite you to take a break, and we're looking to have you back for Howard Fuller in 10 minutes. So enjoy your break, grab your coffee. Thanks, Dr. D.